Are you scared of skeletons? I mean, real skeletons. I'm going to tell you a story about this print. But before I do, I just was thinking back to when I was a medical student, because years ago, when you're a medical student, in the first 2 years, we spend a lot of time doing dissection, cutting up bodies to learn the anatomy. And as part of the anatomy course, you have to rent a skeleton for 2 years. So we all had to go along and collect a box which contained a half skeleton. You got a whole skull, you got one arm, one leg, half a pelvis, and then half of the ribs. And I think we got maybe all of the vertebrae. I can't quite remember. They weren't cut in half. We got most of the back. But you got a half skeleton, and it wasn't a plastic skeleton. This is a real skeleton that was provided by a company who imported bodies from overseas for people who were donating their bodies for medical science. And obviously the flesh is removed and the muscles removed, and the bones are cleaned up. But on my desk in my study, I remember as a student, on my desk in my study, on my own at night, I'd be studying anatomy, and there'd be a skull sitting on my table, because we have to learn all the structures within the skeleton, every single hole where a blood vessel or a nerve would go through, and they all had names. They all have names. You have to name every single one. And it was really weird sitting there with this, what was a person used to eat and talk and live, and yet it's on my desk as a structure. So yeah, it was kind of weird. I'm not frightened of skeletons at all, I have to say. So this print is called The Eternal Prayer and the Dove of Hope. So we have a remote village, and in this village there's an ancient Gothic cathedral. You can see it in the print, with a big tall spire reaching towards the heavens. And this was surrounded by a cemetery with really old gravestones, weathered, eroded, with the names of people who died many, many years ago. And the villagers all spoke in sort of hushed tones about a figure, a spectral figure, which they called the praying skeleton. And it was believed that on nights when the moon was full, the skeleton could be seen kneeling in the graveyard, its bones giving off a sort of vibrant neon colour, giving a sort of pop art spectacle against the really dark and gloomy backdrop of the cathedral. Now this skeleton was once a person, obviously, and this was Brother Aelric. He was a monk from centuries ago, and his whole life was devoted to the divine, to religion, and his days were filled with prayer and service. So he was a very pious and wise man. But he had a deep secret. He was in love with a woman called Elara. And of course, this was forbidden. So their love, pure and forbidden, was a silent hymn to the heavens. Now, unfortunately, Elara, the woman, she contracted some mysterious illness. And when she died, it left him in the throes of despair. And in his anguish, he prayed for a miracle, for one more moment with his beloved Elara. And the heavens responded, but in an unexpected way. He was granted eternal life, but not as a man, but as a skeleton, a symbol of eternal devotion. So each time the moon was full, the praying skeleton would appear with its neon-lit bones kneeling in unending prayer in the graveyard, a silent plea for a reunion with the love of his life, Elara. And one night, when the moon rose high in the sky, lighting up the cathedral with a green glow, a dove appeared, soaring gracefully above the spires. But this dove was not an ordinary bird. It was believed to be the spirit of Elara, transformed into a celestial messenger. Now the villagers, who long observed the eerie but mesmerizing spectacle, were captivated by the sight of the dove, its wings glowing with soft ethereal light. The praying skeleton, illuminated in sort of neon blues and purples, lifted its bony hands towards the dove, as if reaching for a lost fragment of its soul. The dove circled the cathedral, a symbol of hope and love, its presence filling the air with a sense of peace and transcendence. Inspired by this divine sight, a young artist called Lila, who had been drawn to the legends and the spectral beauty of the cathedral, began to sketch fervently, and she captured the luminous skeleton, the Gothic spires, and the radiant dove in her artwork, blending vibrant colours with haunting imagery. So Lila breathed new life into the village's ancient tale. The praying skeleton and the dove of hope became symbols of eternal love and the power of prayer. Visitors from far and wide came to witness this spectacle and to see the skeleton kneel beneath the moon, reaching towards the dove, a timeless dance of devotion and love. But the villagers no longer viewed the cathedral as a place of sorrow, but as a testament to undying love and the possibility of miracles. On nights of the full moon, they would gather in the cemetery, watching as the skeleton and the dove performed their celestial ballet. The cathedral, once a place of decay and forgotten memories, now stood as a beacon of hope and the enduring power of love.